It being 5:30 on May 3rd, I'm going to call the meeting to order with a roll call. Alan Silly,
Present.
Andy Fitch,
Present.
Ann Barney,
Present.
Bob Letourneau.
Present.
Eli Badger is also here. First up is approval of minutes from April 19th.
Motion approved.
There's been
I
a
have
motion.
one change. We should add Alan Silly to this. He was there.
Okay. Now, would somebody like to second that?
No, I already made the motion.
You made the motion, Bob. Would somebody like to second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ann Barney. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Alan Silly,
Aye.
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
Aye.
Bob Letourneau,
Aye.
Eli Badger. Did it, besides Mr. Fitch, did anybody get the 427 minutes that I sent out today?
I got him.
Okay, shall we post, you did too, Ann?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And is there any discussion about the minutes? Hearing none. Alan Silly,
Aye.
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
Aye.
Bob Letourneau,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Moving on, we have purchasing card, PCard presentation. And I'm betting that there are two people that we don't know that are sitting out there who are waiting to talk to us. It's
That
up
is
for
a-
grabs.
That's a correct statement. Thank you for having us. My name is Beth Galper and I'm with the New Hampshire Public Deposit Investment Pool. And as you know, we offer an alternative investment product to New Hampshire municipalities. And PFM is the program administrator and the investment advisor for the pool. That's my employer. And PFM also offers a number of services, including this procurement card. And my colleague, Kelly Smaldone, is on the phone and she's our resident expert and she'll be giving the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm
Hello.
Kelly Smaldone. I'm a senior managing consultant with PFM, and my job is to go through the PCard with you. So if I can, I'll share my screen and we'll try to go through this real quick. I know that I only have about 15 minutes, but
Well,
if you have any questions, certainly stop me at any time.
okay.
Does that sound about right, 15 minutes, or should I
Well-
make it shorter?
If you can do 15 minutes, fine. If it takes a little longer,
Okay,
okay. I'm going to have, I believe I have to make you co-host in order for you to share your screen.
okay.
So I'm going to do that now. You are now co-host. You can share your screen.
All righty. Okay, so can everybody see the presentation?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
perfect. Okay. So really what the PCard program does, I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's very different from a regular credit card program. And what it can do for the town is just simply change your payment mechanism from checks to card, and you can have the opportunity to earn annual cash rebates at the end of the year. So it really does help streamline your purchase payments. It is a MasterCard-based platform. It's accepted at over 9 million locations in the United States, and you can earn rebates. So what we're going to talk about today are what purchasing cards are and how they differ from regular credit cards. Typical purchasing card account options, so the different types of cards, program highlights, transaction addendum details, benefits, protecting against fraud and misuse, which is very important. Online management tool, we're going to talk to some of the features of it, but we're not going to walk through each slide of what it looks like. But if you want a deeper dive of that, we certainly can do that at another time. And also the added value that we bring to the program. So to talk a little bit about what purchasing cards are, as opposed to a regular credit card. So they're very similar in their uses. So you can do point of sale purchasing. So you can walk into a store and swipe your card, or have them read your chip and purchase whatever you need to purchase. Or you can also use them as a payment mechanism in accounts payable. So let's say you have an invoice sitting on your desk and you want to pay that invoice. If this merchant accepts card as payment, go ahead and put that on the card. What helps with this program is, as you know, if you're still issuing checks to folks or your merchants, your vendors that you utilize, there's cost to that. So there's check reconciliation fees, mailing out of those checks, things like that. With this program, it is completely cost-free. So you can use it for paying invoices or on the front end at point of sale. The bill does get paid in full each month, so there's no balance left over, and that's what keeps this program cost-free. And so you would have 7 calendar days after the 27th of the month to pay that bill. Any questions so far? Okay. One thing that I would like you to focus on is the very bottom of this slide, where it says, based upon an IRS ruling, public sector organizations can eliminate 1099 reporting when you pay by PCard. So that's another thing that's a big plus. So you no longer have to issue 1099s to your merchants if you do that.
Okay.
Now, the different types of cards that are available with the program, there's a traditional card type, which is a regular piece of plastic that looks very similar to the credit card that you have in your wallet today, except that it will have the town's name on it embossed, as well as an individual, so the card holder's name as well. And those can be used at point of sale, online ordering, however you need to use those. We also offer what's called a ghost card account, which is a virtual card number that you can assign to a specific department, like your accounts payable department, or to a specific merchant. So let's say you wanted to pay your Verizon bill with the card. You can, because they take card as payment. You would just create that card in Verizon's name, and they would have it on file. They go in and they debit that card for the amount that the bill is due every month. And you would actually see all of this card information flush through to the online tool, which is called Spend Dynamics. It's a warehouse of all your card transaction detail. The third type of card is a department card, and we do offer department cards, but we're kind of trying to steer folks away from those because they do not carry a cardholder's name. So they don't carry employee misuse insurance, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We also have budget card accounts, which is a really neat card to use, because if you have a budgeted amount that you don't want to go over, let's say you're renovating a building and it's going to cost $500,000 to renovate that building. Unlike a prepaid card, you set a credit limit to this card of $500,000, but you only pay as you use it. So it declines slowly over time as you utilize that card. Does that kind of card make sense? You could also use it for sheriff's uniform allowances, police officers, things like that. We have school districts using it for miscellaneous teacher allowances, and you could actually create that card in a cardholder's name. Did anybody have a question? No questions?
No questions, yeah.
Okay. So just as a recap, no annual card fees, credit and card limits are set by you, the program administrators on the card, so you can allocate as many of those different types of cards as you'd like to however many employees you would like to have. It is MasterCard, as I said before. You have dedicated support teams with your program. You have 24/7, 365-day access to the online tools, so you can run reports, check on things. You can even have board members have a login to the tool so that you could see everything, but you can't touch it. So you could run reports, you can see who's buying what, and everything can roll up in a hierarchy structure to the program administrators on the account. There's over 100 standard reports within the tool, as well as ad hoc reporting capabilities. It is a central billed corporate liability program, so it does not go against individual Social Security numbers, and you pay that bill in full, as I said before. The payment is initiated and directly debited from your local bank account, or if you have a fund with us, it could also be debited from your fund account that you have with us. Lost or stolen liability is zero. So just like the cards that you have in your wallet today, fraudulent activity happens, you call up the bank, they take it off your card. No worries. These cards also carry employee misuse insurance through MasterCard. So if you have 5 cards or more, you'll actually have $100,000 employee misuse insurance per card holder. Now, you might not even have a card holder with a credit limit that high, but you'll be covered for any employee misuse. And employee misuse is, let's say I had a card with Ashland, and I went out and I bought a flat screen TV for my house. Well, obviously that did not benefit the town, right? If I can't make restitution to you and you need to terminate my employment, that's perfectly fine. I would hope that you would, since I tried to use my card maliciously, and you would get that money back. Even if it took time for you to actually let me go, as long as the bank knew that you were in the process of doing so, you would get that money back. So you don't end up in the newspaper. It also supplies level 1, 2, and 3 addendum detail whenever passed by the merchant. We'll talk about that on this slide. So the level of detail that the merchant passes when they accept your card as payment, mom and pop store is kind of like a level 1 merchant where they give you the date, the supplier name, and a dollar amount. It's minimal data. They actually pay the most in fees to accept your card as payment. A level 2 merchant gives you level 1 information plus sales tax. And a level 3 merchant is kind of like your Walmarts, your Office Depots, where they actually give you line item invoice quality detail. So the level of data that they pass determines the MDR, or the merchant discount rate, that they pay to accept your card as payment. Again, you don't pay any fees, but the merchants do, for the convenience of being paid within 24 to 48 hours, okay? So a large box store like a Walmart probably pays about 1.7%. And unfortunately, a mom and pop store pays a bit more at 3.5% to accept your card as payment. But that's where we get the rebates to pay you at the end of the year, are the fees from the merchants. Any questions so far? Okay. So on the cardholder side, you have the opportunity to earn annual cash rebates on your spend volume for the year. More information on purchase history and enhanced reporting capabilities. You have the ability to set internal controls, so merchant category code blocking, just so that you know all of your cards are blocked right out of the gate for cash advance. And for kind of sketchy things like dating services, gambling, things like that. You can also add to those blocking controls. Let's say you had folks that would never fly, so you wanted to add blocking of airline tickets and things like that. So you certainly could. It also eliminates the need for petty cash. It's an alternative and less expensive method to make purchase payments. As I said before, checks cost you money. This program does not, zero cost. And the ability to receive net discounts, receive discounts on net payment terms from your merchant. Because your merchant is getting paid within 24 to 48 hours as opposed to 30 or 60 days. And it streamlines their administrative functions on their side. You can block different merchant category codes. As I said before, you can set the limits for each card holder differently for the month. Let's say you want to have some folks have $1,000 credit limit for the month and some have $500,000. It's totally up to you how you want to allocate out your overall credit limit. And that's managed by your program administrators on the account. And we always suggest that you have more than one. On the proactive side, all of those blocking controls that we put in place can thwart employee misuse as well as fraud. So let's say you have it blocked for out of the country. Somebody in Russia tries to use your card. They get a hold of your card number. They can't use it because it'll get declined at point of sale. Also, on the reactive side, card consumption profiling is something that the bank does. They have a lot of algorithms that run in the background. And they can actually see, let's say, again, I had a card with the town. I'm typically using my card once or twice a month. Now, all of a sudden, they see me hitting my card 5 times a day. They'll reach out to you right away because guess who's on the hook for fraudulent activity and misuse? The bank, right? So they reach out to you right away. The bank that we use is BMO Harris Bank. It is the 8th largest bank in North America by assets. We went out for an RFP in 2004. We've been using them since then. We went out for another bid in 2015, and they won the bid again over US Bank and Bank of America. And it was really nice to be able to keep everybody on the same bank. So we've had them in place since 2004. When I send this presentation over to you, you'll be able to click on the link and learn more about them. Now to walk through a little bit of Spend Dynamics. So Spend Dynamics is the online warehouse, pretty much of all your transactional detail. This is also an audio tutorial that goes into more detail about it. So we would typically suggest that you mirror your hierarchy structure that you have at the town today. So you have your program administrators at the top. Each cardholder can only see their own information, and everybody rolls up to a department that all the program administrators see. And the cardholders can only see their own. So to talk about program administration, reconciliation, reporting, and extracting, do we still have a few more minutes?
You do.
Okay. So for program administration, complete control of Spend Dynamics in a role and hierarchy structure, so everybody can roll up. If you want to have your transactions, your cardholders reconcile their transactions within the tool, you can certainly do that. If you wanted to just simply export the data out of Spend Dynamics and import it into your ERP, if you don't mind me asking, what is your financial software that you use?
BSMI.
Okay. So you're able to import a text file, a CSV, and an Excel file?
Catherine?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you can actually export this data out of the tool and import it into your BSMI software and reconcile it on your side if you wanted to. So it can be real super simple. And you can also import your general ledger coding, and you can set defaults on some of the cards if you have default general ledger coding that you want to utilize. So for cardholder reconciliations, they can actually log into the tool and reconcile within 24 to 48 hours of settlement. They'll know on the 28th day of the month what their bill would be. Now, they don't pay the bill because it's a corporate liability program, so it's one direct debit of your entire program for the month on the 4th, okay? But they'll be able to see what their statement looks like. They also have the ability to override general ledger defaults if you want them to, and they can split transactions if you wanted them to or not, depending on what you would like. Reporting and extracting. Cardholder statements are available online with email notifications, over 100 standard reports, ad hoc reporting, ability to run their own custom queries, and all of those reports are exportable. There's also live training that the bank hosts every week. And you can go on to the training classes as many times as you'd like. And then after that, if you just want a little refresher, you can do a self-run tutorial. And we're always here to help you. We want you to grow your program. This is the bank contact information for your cardholders on the left side. On the right side is for your program administrators. And of course, there's always an emergency replacement number. These are your 3 dedicated reps at the bank, as well as having access to 460 client service representatives. Us on the PFM side, to augment the bank's support of your program, we're always here to help. We want you to grow your program so that you reap the biggest benefit at the end of the year. This is the rebate schedule that we have to date. So as long as you spend at least $100,000 in annual spend volume, back to $1, you would earn 50 basis points and get a check for $500. If you bump up to $500,000 a year, you earn 70 basis points and get a check for $3,500, simply for changing the way that you pay your bills. So instead of using check, you use card. It costs you nothing, and you earn rebates back at the end of the year. What makes our program different? Most bank programs out there, you don't start earning a rebate until you spend about $2 million on the program annually. So we start at $100,000, and we also help you grow your program. PFM added value, we provide sample policies and procedures manuals so you don't have to recreate the wheel. Provide additional support to program administration through presentations and webinars such as today. We provide quarterly spend reports with projected annual spend. So we give you a snapshot of where you are each quarter. And we really want to let you know where you are, because sometimes we had folks within $100 of the next tier up in earnings on the basis point percentage. So we certainly don't want you to miss out on that. We also provide semi-annual PCard newsletters and targeted mailings throughout the year. It's cost-free, safeguards for employee misuse and zero liability for fraudulent activity. Requisition process can stay in place, changes the method of payment from check to PCard, creates an annual revenue stream simply by paying your bills, can reduce payment cycle to vendor and increase payment acceptance. Various cardholder controls and limitations can be put in place. Multi-level transaction reconciliation and authorization, import, export transactional details, your ERP, and you can pilot the program in accounts payable where the bulk of your purchase payments occur. It's a 6 to 8 week process once I receive your paperwork, which I actually walk you through. So I'll help you fill it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're most welcome.
Do we have questions?
I have one.
Okay, Bob?
Thank you very much, Kelly. You did a great job. Appreciate it. And I'm
Thank
sure we will get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation so we can review it one more time.
Absolutely.
What exactly is the cost to the town for this program? There must be there has to be something that your company makes money on.
That is from the merchants, the MDR that the merchants pay. So it costs the town nothing.
But
So where we get the rebates to pay you is from what the merchant pays to accept your card as payment.
okay, so
It's cost-free to the town.
in the requirements from the town to your company are,
To just fill out the paperwork. There are no requirements, and you can cancel at any time.
oh, good. That sounds great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You have most of my time, and thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Catherine? You still
Yes.
here?
I'm here.
Have we talked to our treasurer about this?
I have discussed the possibility of a PCard program with her, but ultimately, you know, it's up to the board whether that's a direction that they want to go in. But we have talked about, our finding and how we need to find a better solution, other than the debit cards and current third-party credit cards that we have now.
Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Certainly.
This is for Catherine. I know you've had issues with reconciliation. Is this going to improve and speed up that process?
Yes, it would, especially since, we have the ability to go online and print off the reports, and reconcile them to the slips that they're turned in. We'll, be aware of what's going to be coming out of our accounts, and so we can put it on the manifest properly, versus our current debit cards, which, they debit from our account first, and then we get the approvals in place after the fact. So this will definitely streamline and improve everything.
Any other questions for people?
If I could just clarify one thing, I know you saw
course.
some phone numbers. PFM is out of Harrisburg. Kelly is in New York, but I'm sitting here in New Hampshire, downtown Candia in the southern part of the state. I just wanted you to
Yeah.
know I was local.
Okay.
And can I ask one quick question? Bob Letourneau, are you from Derry? You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yes, I am.
Okay. I recognized you and I remember your name. I used to work for the town of Derry too long ago to even get into, but I was just curious.
Oh, yes. Well, those ties never go away,
That's right.
Any other questions from from the selectmen or from the PCard people?
Any of our department heads have any questions, since this would replace the current system if the board chooses to go in this direction?
Catherine, do you see any downside to this?
I honestly don't. Even if if the VEPSA purchases, which we do through ACH, where we started paying through this program instead, we would certainly earn those rebates pretty quickly.
Yes, Bob.
Thank you. I'm sorry to bump in again. A question is, are there any towns in New Hampshire that we can use as a reference for this program? Have you got other towns that they're using this program?
Sandwich is one of them.
Sandwich?
Mhm. And
Okay.
then we actually recently did a presentation for the town of Jaffrey. And I believe the town of Greenville was also interested in the program. Is that correct, Beth?
That is correct. And I've got a couple of other communities that are interested as well.
How old is the program?
Well, we've had it with PFM since 2004.
Are there other companies offering the same services?
Yes, a lot of the banks do. But as I mentioned before, most banks, you don't start earning a rebate until you spend about 2 million, in some cases, $3 million a year.
Okay.
But most banks do, yes.
Well, mostly the small towns are not spending that kind of money on credit cards. And so it's a good question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
So I'm meeting with the department heads on Thursday. We can certainly discuss it with them at that point.
And if anybody has any additional questions, I will be sending this presentation. You have both Beth and my email, so, feel free to reach out at any time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are no other questions, I suggest we move on.
Thank you for the opportunity to present our program. I
You
appreciate
are
it.
welcome.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you, Bob.
Thank you for the fine presentation.
Yes. Thank you both.
All right, have a good rest of your meeting.
Moving on to, it sort of fits, Town of Ashland purchasing policy. And who is our presenter from this, Catherine?
I guess that would be me.
I would think so.
So I drafted a new purchasing policy as we had previously discussed. In our department head meetings, and at the last, I think it was the last Board of Selectmen's meeting, we kind of went over, kind of superseding our old policy with what our current internal controls are, with some additional clarification of steps for things like what would require a couple quotes as they're available. So last Thursday, I sent everybody a copy of the policy that I drafted up. Has everyone had a chance to review that? And are there any questions or any feedback whatsoever on that policy?
I'm just wondering if we shouldn't mention that there is no longer a purchase order policy. You're going to be replacing policy number 36, I believe. We probably should make a note that purchase orders will no longer be necessary.
Andy, we do have a caveat at the end. It's the last sentence. It says this policy will supersede all previous policies regarding requisition, purchase orders, and purchasing. So that should cover us from that standpoint, but we can always add a clarification piece in at the beginning saying purchase orders are no longer required.
Yeah, I think that might be advised, my opinion.
I don't think it would hurt, Andy and Catherine.
I can add that under the purchasing procedures.
Yep. Well, it would be a good thing to bring up to the department heads that things have changed. Any other questions or comments? And Catherine?
I have one.
Okay, Bob.
Is there any, and of course, I'm new with the town game, and how things are purchased within the town. But I'm just wondering if there's any thing that may happen, like, for example, some emergency thing, we have a flood and the town road crews have to go out and buy a lot of fill or whatever it takes to repair a washed out road or anything. And that could run over that $10,000, and the bidding process would slow that down. And in some cases may even not be a ability to that. So I'm just wondering if there should be some kind of
It's an exception, Bob.
yeah, an exception. Yeah, I mean,
It's listed in number 4 exceptions. Emergency repairs and services where a delay would have an adverse impact on the town. So I would think that the town manager, if it's
I would think so too. I think they would
would
fall
be-
into the realm of the town manager.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure that we didn't tie our hands in a position when things were going south,
No, I think that number 4, the exceptions take care of that. A and under the exceptions.
Well, that's a pretty broad statement to start with. You know, what's an adverse impact on the town? You know, what is that? So.
That's decided by the Board of it'd be decided by the town manager.
Hmm.
The
Okay,
department have to go to the town manager and say, we have a problem.
is everybody comfortable with that?
I am.
If you're not, speak up, please. Catherine,
Yes.
I expect that you want us to vote on this.
That is entirely up to the board.
Board, what is your wish?
My suggestion is, we have a new town manager coming in. My suggestion is we allow him to voice his opinion on this.
Weigh in on it? That sounds like a good plan. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
Alan?
I think it's
Yeah.
written well, but there could be
Yeah.
some problems.
Yes, I think we should wait.
Okay,
I have fairly frequent conversations with him. I will show it to him in advance of his arrival. So we
that would
can-
be good.
Thanks, Fran.
By the way, has Fred been invited to any of these meetings yet?
He was supposed to be here tonight. I sent him the agenda, but he has not logged in, so.
Okay,
I have not seen him come
Mhm.
on the horizon yet.
okay, all right. I thought he was invited. I thought there was an invitation sent out.
Yes,
Thank you.
moving on. The electric department rates. That's back before us. Do we need to have a hearing? Is that what this is about, Fran?
There has been some chatter in the town that perhaps we should have either had a hearing or at least a public information session. And there's still
Oh.
time to do that if the board chooses to.
Why don't we do that on May 17th?
I'm on board with that. I think anytime we change the rates for the utilities that are owned by the town of Ashland, we should have some kind of a hearing or informational for the public.
The last time that we had the public hearing, we didn't do it because we didn't have a set of rates in place that we had thought through. So I think that May 17th would work.
I will send a notice out and put it on the agenda for May 17th.
Thank you. And now, moving on. Proclamation for Municipal Clerks Week, May 2nd through 8th of 2021. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government of other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk gives as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually serve to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, county, and professional organization. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of Ashland, do recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Municipal Clerks Weeks, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Patricia Tucker, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and the exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Signed on the third day of May by the Ashland Board of Selectmen. Moving on. Retirement benefits for the town manager. Fran?
I'd like Catherine to speak on this. Fred has requested to be exempted from the New Hampshire retirement system. And Catherine has contacted NHRS. Catherine, do you want to speak on that? Okay, maybe she's not
Sorry about
there.
that.
Oh, okay.
I was talking, but I was still on mute.
Okay,
Yeah, so our new town manager has asked to be exempt from the New Hampshire retirement system. And in order to be in compliance with the NHRS rules, we need the selectmen to formally accept and approve that at a meeting. And then a copy of these minutes should go into his personnel file where he can sign off on this. So we need a motion from the board, please.
So we'll accept a motion. Do you have a motion prepared, Catherine? No. Okay,
I can move that we approve the exemption of Fred Welch, town manager from the New Hampshire retirement system as our town manager. Does that sound all right?
I think that will do it.
I'll
Do I
second.
hear a
I'll
second?
second that.
Any further discussion?
Yes,
Alan?
I think a little bit of clarification that we should be cited as per his request.
Can amend that motion as requested by Mr. Welch.
Andy, do you second that?
I'll second that again. Good
Okay.
catch, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Any further discussion on this? Roll call vote. Alan Silly,
Aye.
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
Aye.
Bob Laterno,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Summer meter readers for water and electric. Who is venturing to talk about this?
Hey, Eli, I can do it. I can talk a little
Okay,
bit.
Craig.
This is something Rusty and I got together and, we're helping the electric, both of our departments. And this is this busy time for us. And him and I talked about just hiring a part-time meter reader, not part-time, it'll be full-time during the summer. It's just the summer help. In the fall, we get less busy anyway. So we can, go back to reading full-time. But so right now, you guys know we have one guy in the electric department, so to read meters. So what we would do, the proposal is to have the utilities pay for this position during the summer. It would be a 40-hour-a-week job. Fran had initially approved it, but she wanted to run it by you guys just before we pulled the trigger on it. So anyway, it's just because we're getting, we're busy. We want to hire somebody to read the meters. Just probably starting in, hopefully next month. And then we would go forward until probably the fall some point when we get less busy. So that's the whole reason for it.
Okay, Craig, while we're talking about meter reading, how's the new meter readers doing?
Well, we did one route with the meters and it worked out fine. We were able to upload it.
Yeah.
But we didn't have time to do all the rest because, we went out and read with the books, and half of that we did one route with the meters as well as the books.
Okay.
Of course, that takes a little bit longer to do it double duty, so we only did one.
Bye. Give her a
What-
kiss.
What was that?
No. Would this person that we hire be able to help input the information into the computer for those books?
Well, what we hope that this next read, Eli, we're gonna use the handhelds.
Completely.
Yeah, completely, along with I got some, I'm gonna have a rider go along with the guys and we're gonna try to do it. And get it all read, even though it's gonna take a little longer. But once that happens, if this proves out to work and we have the whole town on the handhelds,
Yeah,
there won't be any data entry, it'll just be plugged in.
yeah,
So the hard work is going to be putting them in the handhelds. Now, the handhelds take a little bit, it's kind of weird. It takes about 10 seconds to upload every read. It has to process the data. So I don't know why it's so slow, but maybe they're old or something, I don't know. So if you're at the condos and there's a bank of, 10 meters, it takes 10 seconds in between each read to get that thing to upload. So it's a little longer, but it's going to save Ann's tremendous amount of time. All she'll have to do is plug them in.
well, I think it's probably going to save more on labor costs down the way.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah. So when Rusty and I were talking, because we think the reads it's only gonna take one guy, 2
Yeah.
weeks to read the entire town. We can put them to work on the off days, doing anything from mowing to cleanups and things of that sort. So we'll keep them busy for the rest of the time. So we wanted it to be a 40-hour job.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Yeah,
Bob?
just during the summer. So it kind of like what Ann does with
Okay.
her lifeguards and everything.
Okay. Board? I believe Craig is asking for permission. Or Fran and Craig are asking for permission.
Well, I'm pretty sure that it's a good idea because, as everybody knows, we've had some issues with getting these things out in a timely manner. This should
Yes.
speed things up. So yes. Does he need a motion for this?
Fran, is that what you want?
Oh, I think that would be cleaner.
Okay.
We will hire the part-time
Full,
person for the summer. It's a full-time
it's-
job, but part-time for the summer.
Yeah.
Because full-time would indicate a union job, I think.
Full-time
Yeah.
seasonal.
Be full-time,
Oh,
part-time,
okay.
just like Ann's camp counselors.
So full-time seasonal.
seasonal help.
Okay. I will amend my motion to hire a seasonal help full-time to read meters and do other duties as the supervisors see fit.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I have a question, Eli.
Yes. Yes,
What is
Alan.
the- what is the rate of pay going to be?
Greg?
I'm not sure. I was gonna talk to Rusty about it.
Okay,
To be
we'll have to-
decided?
What's that?
To be decided?
Yeah, I guess we'll talk to Rusty and it'll be, I think we're gonna split the wages when we talk to Fran out of both utilities, water, sewer and electric.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll-
sewer doesn't need it.
Okay, so water and electric, or I don't care. We can come right out of electric. We can
Yeah.
just, I mean, we haven't paid any wages hardly this year, so maybe it's better just to do that.
If the water department is going to make use of him, I think that the time should be split.
Yeah, Rusty he mentioned he could, mow them, well, whoever he or she could mow
Yeah.
the lagoons, down on the banks where those guys don't like to.
Okay.
That kind of stuff.
Okay. Are we
But
looking more for the lower end of the union scale?
Well, I would say, I don't know what the going rate is. We should just talk about it. I'll talk with Catherine. For that type of job, I think they could be considered a laborer at that point.
Yes.
I mean, they're doing everything. I mean, if I might have them mow some weeks, Rusty might have them weed whack all around the fence.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly yet, but
Okay. So, Alan, does that answer your question somewhat?
it'll work for now.
It will work for now.
Yep.
Any more discussion on this?
We're in
Hearing
voting
none.
mode.
Bob?
We're in voting mode,
Yes. Any more? Well, Alan had a question.
right? No, that's cool.
That was part of discussion.
Thank you for that.
So, if there's no further discussion, roll call vote. Alan Silly,
Aye,
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
Aye.
Bob Laterno,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Okay, Depot Street Sidewalk Reconstruction Paving. Craig, you're up again.
yes, and I don't know if you guys got the late email and when I had sent this out to Fran, I apologize. I had sent the same attachment twice, thinking that it was the other things I wanted to talk about, but I sent you out a late email and I don't know if you all got it or not. If you didn't, I'll talk about it, but let's go on to the sidewalks first. Seeing how that's what's on the agenda. So you guys, some of you are aware, we've been trying to do the Depot Street sidewalks probably for about 3 years now. And because of different reasons, we've put it off and it was all financial reasons. We ran out of money for this or that, or last year we didn't do it because GMI went over on the paving. So Charlie said, nope, let's hold off on that. Don't do that yet because you've gone over on your, original quote. So we didn't do it again last year. So they're in terrible shape. You guys have probably seen them. They're just crumbling up. So I just want approval to do it. I did get another quote. There's only 2 people that will do the sidewalks in the whole area. And one of them's GSM Paving. They don't have a paver. They do everything by hand. So their quote was just slightly higher than GMI. And GMI is their quote, I decided that they're a little cheaper. they're gonna throw it in with a sidewalk project, and they're gonna use a sidewalk paver, which is going to be much more, it's gonna be level, make it level, more level, I would say. More of like a sheet, because they have an actual paver. And they'll pave this the same time they do the sidewalk on Main Street. So you'll see the cost is $31,467 total for that. And then the description of what they're doing is on the back page. If anybody's got any questions on that, but I'd just like a motion to move forward with that project after 3 years of trying to get it done.
Okay, so what you want first is the Depot Street sidewalk.
That's right, yep.
Then you want to talk about Hillside Avenue
Yeah, Hillside Avenue and Avery Street.
and Avery Street. Okay.
Yeah.
So do we have questions about the Depot Street sidewalk project?
Yeah, I noticed that there's a exclusion for handwork for asphalt. Is there going to be any handwork? Because it's rather expensive if there is.
Well, like we're gonna rip up the sidewalk and they're gonna run their paver down it. We've already got it cut to 5 feet. So I don't anticipate any or much. But you never know with the pavers. You guys, you've probably dealt with it a lot. We always have overages with pavers. It might go over a little bit. I'm hoping GMI, they owe us a little favor, so I'm hoping they'll stick to that quote. But I can certainly talk to them about that. I don't anticipate it, Andy, but it's pavers are all up in the air. They never give you a firm quote. That's why it's a quote. But I'm aware of that.
Can we put a 10% cap on overages on this?
Oh, you certainly could. I mean, and then I wouldn't have to come back and ask you for some money if it did go over.
Would that be something that we would want to do?
Does the 10% put us over what the other quote would be?
Oh yeah, it would, Andy, yes. Yeah, if you added 10% to that, that's $3,000, $3,100. So that would put you over. They were pretty close to each other. Yeah, the only difference is GSM is going to do it all by hand. So, I mean, we could certainly go with those guys too, if you want. I mean, if you guys want to. I think we'd have time if you want me to. You want to go with GSM? I just don't have that quote in front of me. I'm not at my desk.
Greg, to me, it's not a matter of, I mean, you're the arbiter of which one is better working relationship with us. My question is always when it comes to a quote. Should we talk a little bit about what happens if it's $33,452 and the final bill comes in at $36,000?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It could very well. Absolutely. I didn't put a percent on this one. I did on the other projects because I know. But I certainly, if you guys, even 5% would help. I mean, I'll give you 1,500, but 10% on 31 is probably that's probably a good number.
And I'm asking the board. I mean, I'm not trying to stop this. I just want an opinion.
Eli,
Alan,
Yes, I can agree with you on, we should kind of set the limit to a point, but that also lets them know right up front that they can go to that limit. I am just going to say that I'm still upset and disappointed at what happened to Thompson Street and the overage there. I am in agreement with Craig's comments that they do owe us a little something, but I'm sure that we're not going to get it. So I'm in favor of putting a cap on this. If it goes to the cap, so be it, but at least we're putting them on notice.
Andy?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that we stop the bleeding.
Yeah, Andy, I'll have a talk with, like GMI is up on the street, so I'll see if I can get a hold of them, and I'll tell them that we need to hold the line on it, that it can't go over. And I'll
Yeah.
talk about that handwork.
Ann?
Yeah, I think we need to make sure they have a limit to what we're spending.
Bob? You need to unmute, Bob. You really should.
I
unmute.
was still looking at the quotes here.
Okay,
But yeah, I agree that they need to stay within their quotes. I mean, obviously there are unknown things that happen, but it has to be minimum, and if it's more than whatever you guys decide, 5% or 10%, whatever that case may be, it has to come back to the board for approval.
well, I mean, if we want them to hold at the $33,452, then we don't that's the max that can be spent on that program without coming back.
The Depot Street is 31,467.
Right.
The other one is,
Oh, that's Avery Street.
Yeah.
Got the wrong.
So I think we're all pretty much in agreement.
Okay, let me see. Fiscal impact is 83,102. And added for ledge pack, Mile Road, 5%.
That's for the other roads there, Eli.
Yeah. What is the total of all the projects that you want?
Well, I don't have a calculator in front of them, but the two road projects are $91,302 with an additional $31,467. It's close to $125,000.
Yeah.
It's
And the
under
money-
the what we spend. Just to give you a background, I try to spend $100 grand every year on our roads.
Yeah,
I put 25,000 in the bank every year. This year I'm not going to be able to because of we're doing the sidewalk project. Last year I spent about 100 grand. I think it was maybe 90 some odd thousand. But anyway, I try to put 25,000 in the bank to have it in the bank. This year I think it's right around 120 some odd $1,000. So I'm still under what we got last year for the money. This year, I mean, we got 125,000 in the CRF for road improvements. So I'm under that amount. When you add up all three projects.
okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what is your desire for this?
I'd say we go ahead and move the project forward. We have to upkeep the roads up to stuff. These sidewalk projects are important because there's a liability issues too.
Yeah,
Oh, you can't have people out there tripping in holes and everything else. I mean, we gotta do due diligence, and I think Craig is trying to do that.
I do believe you're right, Bob. I think that Craig is trying to make sure that we are protected. And Craig, these will of course, be to ADA standards, right?
Yeah, that's the reason, the original reason why we were going to do the side, that project on Depot Street was the state put all the wonderful tip downs in for us when they
Yeah.
paved Depot Street. So they put those all in, which was a great cost savings to us. So they'll be up to, right now they don't because they're not 5 feet wide,
Yeah.
but they will be 5 feet wide in the end, and they'll meet right in with all the tip downs that were in place by the state.
Okay.
So Craig, could we possibly go with the 5% contingency like you did with the road projects? Is that doable?
Yeah, let's do at least that. And then like everybody said, like Bob said, if it goes over, I'll come back for approval for the additional. I'll talk to GMI again and I'll tell them that the talk we had tonight, and I'll tell them. I'll tell them they need to hold the price. Do the best they can. So I'll have that discussion with them.
Well, GMI is very familiar with working with municipalities. They should know that by now.
Okay. What other projects do you want to discuss? Or do you want
Well, however you guys, if you want to vote for the sidewalk, or do you want to do the whole,
well,
all of it at once?
why don't we vote for the sidewalk?
Okay, and then I'll just talk about the other project if you guys want.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve the Depot Street sidewalk paving and add a contingency of 5%. The estimated total cost is $31,467.50.
did you get
I'll
the
second that.
5% over?
I'll second that. It hasn't been seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Just want to find out 30 and 467.5 plus %. So with contingency, the number would be $33,040.88.
I'm on board with that.
Okay, that's the 5% over. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Alan Silly,
Aye.
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
Aye.
Bob Letourneau,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Moving on, Craig.
Okay,
What's the
the other
next
one, yeah, the other one is our normal, what I would do for normal roads every year. So you guys remember we had the roads analysis done. So these roads appear on that road analysis. And the best part about it is we'll be able to tie in these new sidewalks with Hillside Avenue. So this is to do the sidewalks on Hillside, I mean, not the sidewalks. It will tie into the new sidewalks, so there'll be a seamless transition there. So what we're gonna do is full depth reclamation up Hillside and Avery Street. Now, the Public Works will be replacing all the galvanized culverts that are in there with plastic. And we'll evaluate the structures as we go. And that's basically why you see a 5% contingency. Some of it's for that reason. I'm assuming they might go over a little bit on the paving. Who knows? That road's pretty uneven, but we're gonna try to level it out with some ledge pack in the end, crown it right, and make the water flow. So that's Hillside, and then Avery Street, same kind of thing. It's all broken up. It's brittle. You can't even put some cold patch in it to have it hold. So we'll be doing the same exact thing up Avery Street. And that's a little easier. That road's a little shorter, and there's only one culvert I have to replace there. Other than that, you've got the proposal in front of you for that. And if you have any questions, I can answer them.
I have a question, Craig.
Alan?
Has there been any discussion with Rusty about Hillside as far as water and sewer there at all? I know it was talked about once, but is it being talked about now in this project?
Yeah, I've kept Rusty in the loop the whole time about it. At one point, he was on board. He wanted to kind of extend the sewer line a couple lengths, which isn't too bad. It's a couple pieces of ducktail iron. I think they're 20-foot lengths, but extend the water up. But at this time, he's kind of decided not to. I told him we could do the work ourselves. But at this point, he's just going to add a new hydrant at the top, and that's all he wants to do, he said. But the road's going to be reclaimed within the next 2 or 3 weeks if this is approved. So, we could still do it.
Alan?
I'm just going to, I'm trying to remember exactly how far the sewer ran up the hill. My only concern would be to run the sewer beyond the culvert, at least. So in the future, if we had someone who wanted to hook on there, it would not mean going back and digging up what you've just done.
Right. I think it stops at Terry's house, I believe, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
I think they are on that. But it doesn't go up. It doesn't, I can't remember her name on the left there. Henrietta or whatever.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't think it goes there. I don't think she's on it. But I think we talked about adding just 2 lengths, and that would cover it. But I don't know, for whatever reason, he decided not to.
Okay.
I don't know why. You could have we still have time if you wanted to have a conversation, of course. I mean, it's once the road's dug up, it's dug up. So
Okay.
we can do whatever.
I will do that. But thank you, Craig.
Any other questions? So what is your pleasure for this? Do I hear a motion?
We make a motion to move the project forward. Is this the correct quote that's here, $31,460, 67? That's a sidewalk program. I don't have the right quote.
No. Avery Street is $33,452.
Yeah, I don't have that in my package. I'm sorry.
And Hillside is $49,650.50.
Can I have those 2 numbers again? I can add them up and put them in the quote.
33,452.
Go ahead. What's the other one?
49,650.50.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but those don't add, it's not the whole project cost either, Bob, just so you know.
All right, so do we need to have the whole project cost in there? For the
The
quote?
fiscal,
Motion? Do
okay.
you have the total project cost, Craig?
It's $91,302.
$2, yes.
Okay, got it. All right. Is there a contingency on that too, 5%?
Yep, there's a contingency on that one.
So Craig has given us a recommended motion. He has said, motion to approve the road construction and paving of Avery Street and Hillside Ave by GMI for the amount of $91,302. Funds would be taken from the CRF Road Improvement line 01-4915-30500.
Okay, that would be the motion.
That would be the motion. Who would like to make that?
I would like to make that.
Motion by Bob Letourneau. Do I hear a second?
Plus the 5%, guys.
5% is in that.
It's in there.
It's in there, yeah.
It's been.
Okay,
Okay,
all right. I'll second it.
seconded by Andy Fitch. Any further discussion? Roll call. Alan Silly,
Aye.
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
Aye.
Bob Letourneau.
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. Okay. Depot, street, sidewalk, reconstruction, paving, and so are we all caught up with you, Craig? Greg?
Yep, I think you're all set. I think that's all I
Okay,
got.
next item is Main Street curbing.
Oh,
Who's
God.
got that one?
Well, this is something that the engineer had talked about.
Mike Vignali.
Yes, Mike, and he wanted to know if we wanted to save a section of it. It's roughly from Holy Terrace. I think wraps around a little bit by Shorefine. And to save that,
Gordon Street and
yeah,
down to the Common Man part.
yeah, basically where the brick walkway is, I guess.
Okay,
So if we
Because-
wanted to save it, or it would save us a little bit of money, or they still want it, the whole project cost is for new stuff.
yeah,
And I guess, to me, when I wrote back to Fran and Mike and everybody that had talked about it, it's okay with me, leave it up to the board, but you're gonna have brand new curbing, and then you're gonna have a section right in front of the common man that's gonna look old. It's just gonna kind of look unfunky.
okay. I
This is up to
understand that, Craig, I understand that the curbing that you would like to replace is still in good shape.
It's in good shape, but it won't look the same. It's
It
not,
won't match there.
that's right.
One of the things that I believe they talked about was it could be used elsewhere.
Well, they're not gonna throw all that curbing into a pit. I asked them to save all of that curbing for us.
So the statement I made was correct.
That's right. We're gonna use it. They're not throwing it away. Every
Okay.
little bit of that used stuff I'll use somewhere for a culvert header or something down the line.
So while spending slightly more, we will still have the material that was taken out, the curbing taken out to be used elsewhere and not have to pay for it.
Right, it's in the quote already.
Yes,
Mike just said we could save some money if you wanted to save the money, and I don't know what that number is.
it's
20% of the cost of the curbing in that section.
Yeah.
So it's not a great deal. Most of the curbing is pretty bad and pretty old.
Any comments before we start?
What's the story with the bricks? I see something here about bricks.
The bricks will, I believe Mr. Ray will be asked if he wants his bricks back.
Yeah, he was pretty proud. He told me he paid to have that done himself.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, somebody will get a hold of him and before they take him out and see if he wants to salvage any.
Are they salvageable, Craig, under the circumstances they've been stomping around for the last, I don't know how many years?
Well, they're in pretty good shape, but it depends on how they remove them. If they remove them with a machine, that's a lot more damage than taking them out by hand. And I don't think GMI is going to take them out by hand.
I doubt it.
So Alex would have the opportunity to take them out by himself, or they could scoop them up and put them in a dump truck and then he could salvage the good ones.
Yep.
But we'll give him that option before we do that work.
Craig, if he doesn't want those, could you use those for building up culverts, or not culverts, catch basins?
Absolutely, yeah, I could use them. Yeah, we're taking some of that stuff, so if he doesn't want them, I may take some of that too, if he doesn't want them. So it's basically up to you guys whether you want to, my feeling is that it's going to look a little different right in front of the common man. If we do that,
What is your pleasure, board?
I'd like to see it all new.
Okay,
Downtown.
Alan, are you willing to make a motion?
I would like, I can do that, but I would rather somebody else kind of agree with me, but
And we're not going to tell you, we just want you to make a motion.
I will make that motion that we will put in all new curbing throughout the project.
I'll second that.
See, you have someone that agrees. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Alan Silly,
Aye.
Andy Fitch,
Aye.
and Barney,
Aye.
Bob Laterno.
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye. You actually had 4 more people agree with you, Alan.
That's a good thing.
Yes. Okay, Perlac representative appointment of Kathleen DeWolf. Let's find that one. Okay. The Local River Management Advisory Committee nominee form. Kathleen DeWolf has expressed interest in being on Perlac again and wishes to be nominated. Ms. DeWolf. Welcome
Yes.
to,
Thank you. This is for a reappointment. To give a little background, where each town can have up to 3 members. For the past, 3 cycles, we have only had 1 representative to sit on the committee. Lee Sharps did it for 3 years prior to my appointment. We did gain a new member, Tyson Morrow, which is positive. This is for watershed management. And the town of Ashland, compared to some of the upriver towns who are having some growing pains, and they're realizing their ordinances are non-existent or weak, trying to scramble, figuring out how they can preserve the watershed. Ashland is in good stead. We have a Pemmy overlay district, which is excellent, 500 feet from the water. We have a steep slope ordinance, which would not allow any building on slopes greater than, I believe it's 25%. And we have a wellhead protection area, which is also very valuable. North Ashland Road is within the overlay district, and a good portion of the town of Ashland property from the pump station and well to the New Hampton line is also within this overlay district. So it's vital that we have a voice on this committee. It's advisory. This is a protected watershed. So hopefully I will be able to advocate for the town of Ashland for 3 more years. This is just a formality. All the board has to do is put my name forward, and LRPC and DES do rest of the work.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Kathleen to this position.
Thank you,
on the
Andy.
Perlac.
You are muted.
Do I hear a second? I will second that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Andy Fitch,
Aye.
Bob Letourneau,
Aye.
Ann Barney,
You're muted, Ann.
I,
Alan Silly,
Aye.
Eli Badger says aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Kathleen.
if you ever have any information or concerns, most of you know my email, my phone number still in the phone book. Don't hesitate to put them forward.
Who
We
has a
meet,
phone book today?
I'm sorry,
Who has a phone book?
you can, you still don't have an old one laying around?
I just threw
I
mine
still
out
have a
today.
landline. I still have a landline, and more than a few of you know what it is, but please don't hesitate if there's any concerns to pass them on to me. We meet the last Tuesday of the month at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to warrant article number 19. I see has Catherine left us? Yes. Catherine got a call from DRA concerning our Article 19, which involves the money that got transferred to the library trustees. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure that my wife and Amanda Loud and David Rule and Lisa Rollins will make sure that I know that I'm wrong. So I believe that Catherine sent all of the information down that we had. Walter Mitchell's work as far as the trust fund people at the state sent it down to DRA to view. And I'm not sure that we've heard back from them yet. So if anybody wants to speak on this, please raise your hand. Yes, Amanda.
So I don't understand why this is on the agenda tonight. What's the problem? No one has voiced a problem. I don't understand why it's on the agenda.
DRA may be confused about how the money, they may think that people are still going to be putting money into it with the trust fund. Wait a minute, somebody's yelling at me. I knew it.
People can, it's been established as a
Yes.
fund that can be added to.
Yes, but DRA was wondering about the form in which everything takes. And it's confusion in wording. This is the way I see it. I thought that, I mean, we've had Walter Mitchell go over it.
It came from the Attorney General's office.
It came from the Attorney General's office, and now we have another government organization saying, well, I don't think it's quite right. So what Catherine did was send all of the information that we had down to DRA, and they haven't gotten back to us yet.
Okay, I think your wife will really
And
like.
she wants to talk. Okay, you've been called on, Mrs. Badger.
I think, as Mr. Badger said, one of the main things that was sent down to DRA was the non-judicial settlement agreement. It was referenced in the warrant article, but the DRA probably had no clue what that was. So I'm hopefully when they read that, they will understand where the money is coming from, what the money is being used for, et cetera. I think that's all.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why it was on the, I was hoping that we would have something to talk, we'd have some clarification on it from DRA, but we don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Moving on, building inspector hours. Ms. Newton.
We got a request from Scott Vian, our building inspector. He currently works 2 days, 4 hours each. And he wanted to know if we could switch that to 1 day, 8 hours for his, it gets complicated for him to work 2 different days. So I just thought I'd get the board's opinion.
I don't have
Okay,
any, issues with it.
opinion from the board. Bob,
I don't have any issues with it.
Andy,
No, I don't really have any issues with it. I just hope that the public can meet him on the days that he's able to work.
yeah. Well, if he works 8 hours, he may be able to get it so that at least some of them could come into the afternoon. And
Yeah, I agree.
you don't have a problem with it?
No, as long as, we have one consistent day and it's not going to change.
Yeah. Alan,
I'm in agreement with the change.
I'm in agreement. So
Then I
Franny,
will let Scott know.
okay. Moving on to select board items. Interview committee, finance coordinator, finance assistant, AED positions. And what is this?
Well, we're starting to get in resumes for all these positions. Not nearly enough, but we're starting to get them in. And when I took this role, I said to you that I didn't feel it was my job to hire people. Normally, it would be the town manager's job, but given the nature of my position, I'm reluctant to do that. I was hoping Fred would be on tonight so that we could ask him if he would, especially for the finance positions, if he would like to be a part of that interview committee. But I think we should appoint at least, perhaps Eli and Andy as chair and co-chair of the board to sit in on interviews to make those decisions. In terms of the AED positions, I don't know if any of us is qualified to do that. Obviously, Craig has gotten some firsthand knowledge of electric department, and he's probably in touch with Rob. So I'm not as concerned about that, but the finance positions are really crucial. And I think we should see if Fred wants to help us out with that. And I know he's available on certain days, and, maybe a board member or two.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Fran, can you make that happen? Those arrangements for Fred?
Certainly. I mean, I will
no,
certainly try. I can call him tomorrow and ask him.
so for the interviews, they would come on days that he was available.
Right, and we could always do them by Zoom. He doesn't need to drive up here. We
Right.
could certainly make that happen. But, he's going to be working directly with these finance people, so I think he ought to have a hand in it. But again, just for expediency, it'd be nice if we had a board member or two who are familiar with the way we've been doing things in the past and what needs to be taken into account when we hire somebody new. Eli, I know you had a lot of direct hand experience with the finance people when you were sitting in that chair. I've had some, and I'm certainly happy to sit in on the interviews, but I want the decision to come from those of you who are going to have to be dealing with these people going forward.
Well, it's imperative that we get that position filled ASAP. Get that-
okay, I would be glad to sit in, to be part of the interview team. Are you having both Andy and I on there? Is the rest of the board comfortable with that?
Yes.
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 You got your crew.
Okay, wonderful. I will contact Fred, and then we can start setting up interviews there are a couple of resumes that are worth
Yeah.
considering, so.
We'd like to see the resumes, though. I think the
Yeah.
rest of the board would like to
I
see.
I would think that everybody should see the resume.
I won't
Okay.
bother to show you the ones who have like 0 qualifications, but
Yeah. Okay.
ones that we would consider talking to, I'd certainly be able to
Yeah.
share those with you.
And that way, if we have any questions, we can forward them to Andy and Eli.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
Question, Eli.
Sure.
Are both these positions advertised on the town website? Are they noticed there?
Yeah, yes, I
Yes.
believe they are.
Okay, thank you.
Margine said in the background that they are.
All right.
I
Thank you.
know the
Craig-
finance coordinator. Pause.
Craig, can you speak up to the AED applicants?
Well, the ones I've seen so far, none of them have any experience with linesman stuff.
Mhm.
They have more experience in public works related than the electric department.
Yeah, that was what I thought too.
Yeah, and at this point, we can't, I can't train them.
No,
I have a second year student right now that's going to school, so there's no way we can hire somebody like that.
No.
I mean, they'd basically be a public works person at that point,
Mhm.
because I can't teach them anything.
Okay,
I agree.
so we're not there yet with those
No,
positions.
no,
Okay,
I
that
think
was
we
kind
need-
of what I thought, Craig, but I needed your take on it.
Or we wait, possibly get a superintendent, then we could hire these kids,
That, that's a different scenario.
That's right, yep.
Okay. Are we done with this section? Alan, do you have your hand up?
Not yet.
You have your hand, not the hand up.
Well, I wasn't sure where you were headed.
Well, if we're done talking about the interview committee, the next question would be, do we have anything else to discuss this evening? And Alan, you have your hand up.
I do now, yes.
Go for it.
I would like to bring the electric department into discussion here. I would like to bring Eaton in to discuss the new meters, engineering and analysis for the electric department. I'm ready to talk to them.
Craig?
Yeah, I can certainly contact them to have a presentation on you, whatever night you guys want.
I've got a question for you, Craig. There was supposed to be or proposed some services by Eaton when Charlie was here for them to do some evaluation.
Yep, that's correct. That was on the substation.
Yeah.
We
Did
have a
anything-
propo-
Did
Well,
anything get done?
No, it's just a proposal at this point. You guys would need to,
Okay,
I don't think you ever moved on the proposal at the time.
That is correct.
We could bring that up too at the same time, and he could go over that proposal. I don't think that's a great deal of money. But that proposal is a design for the substation, what we would need to move it forward into the next phase of, bringing it up to date.
well,
And I can't remember if that was just $16,000.
there was one, I believe, for 19,000.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yep, 19.
And there was another part of that for maybe double that for another evaluation.
I'd have to review them all. One of them
No.
might have been, God, I don't remember now, but one of them, it wasn't a great deal of money to engineer the new substation. That's basically what they're gonna do.
Okay,
But why don't we have them come in and just repropose all those things?
if we're going to have them do one thing, let's
Do it all.
listen to them. Is that good with you, Alan?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And I nod of head from Miss Barney. Bob,
Yes.
Andy? Make it happen.
Do you guys want to do it
Right.
at the next meeting or?
Find out when they're available.
They ask me about every week, I think. The guy calls me. So,
Okay, we are going to try to have, whether it's a hearing or whether it's a public information on the 17th. I think this would fit right in with that, don't you?
okay, I'll try to get them on the agenda for them then.
Is the board comfortable with that?
Yes.
And they're-
Yes.
Yep, okay. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? The non-public session is, do we need anything? Fran? And I have a head shake over there. And now I have, is there anything else before the board that you want to bring before the board?
Just an update. I got a text from Catherine. I believe that Fred's signed contract came in today.
Good.
So
Yes.
it's just getting a start date at this point. The background
Yep.
check is all done. So it's just
Okay.
getting a start date.
What's the start date gonna be?
We have to talk to Fred.
30 days from that point, right?
We're hoping no more than that. I will keep you posted.
I'm
Let's
sure,
be
Fran,
optimistic.
you're waiting with anticipation.
Yes. Okay.
He did come into the office last Monday and sat and chatted with Eli and I, and he's actually hard at work. He's, writing some guidelines and proposals for us. He's contacting people about the mill. He's doing his homework and I'm thrilled. So
Well, we should get that mill going. Maybe we should grow some pot down there,
Well, what's in the other one? In the other post?
Okay.
Or along Riverwalk, I don't know. The infamous question now, ladies and gentlemen, is Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful evening.